Welcome to the Tough Decisions Network for Entrepreneurs. I'm Dan Hanford, and my wife, Danae, and I interview successful people sharing stories behind tough decisions that they've had to make along their journey as an entrepreneur. On the podcast with us today is Andrew Henderson. Andrew, welcome to the podcast.
It is great to be with you guys.
Andrew, we want you to get us started today by telling us a little bit about your background as an entrepreneur and also where your current focus is.
Well, my background as an entrepreneur, I was born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio in the U.S. I grew up being obsessed with reading business books from about 11 or 12 years old, and I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. When I was about 19, I was not doing so well at the party school that is Arizona State University because I was spending all my time trying to figure out what my business was. And at 19, now in retrospect, it doesn't seem so smart, but I got into the high-flying world of radio and started a business helping small radio stations monetize their airtime. There's a lot of small radio stations that just don't do very well. They're hanging on by a fingernail. And I spent a number of years working with those radio stations. And over the years, bought and started and sold various businesses in the United States before finally at, about 28, clearing everything out, leaving the United States full time, having done a lot of traveling in the preceding years, but leaving the U.S. full time and starting Nomad Capitalist, which was kind of an accident. It was the one business that was like, I didn't have a plan for how I was going to make money. I just was doing it. I was blogging. I was podcasting. I was putting information out there. I was, traveling and meeting people. And it's evolved over these last six years to be the number one resource for global citizens, helping 6- and 7-figure entrepreneurs go offshore. And the big focus now is reaching a lot more people. And I think that the tough decisions that I've made over the years have revolved around playing small. And we can talk about that. But for me, the focus is how to increase the influence, how to be everywhere, how to reach more people. Because everyone who's coming to me, for the most part, everyone I'm working with is saying either you're the only one doing what you're doing holistically, or the older guys say, I wish you were there 10 years ago because I could have used your help 10 years ago.
So I want you to share us a little bit about, one, what it means to be a nomad, because I know there's people listening that are like, I don't really know what that is.
Well, there's this whole movement people may be familiar with, the digital nomad. These are the people that, they quit their job and now they go and live in Bali or Chiang Mai, Thailand, or any of these places.
Tim Ferriss is the one who started that, wasn't he?
Yeah, Tim Ferriss. So I remember when I was first starting my business thinking to myself, remember Vonage, like the VoIP phone, like I could move to a Caribbean island, and as long as I had my Vonage, I could be calling people, doing this radio market maker business from anywhere. And I wish I would have done it earlier. I would have saved a lot more money. But what I talk about as Nomad Capitalist, which is not entirely different, but instead of being like this constant dragging a suitcase behind you, which I've done for a long time, Nomad Capitalist is saying, how do I go where I'm treated best? Those are my 5 words that I talk about a lot. Go where you're treated best. So people come to me and they're saying, Andrew, I'm in the UK. My business can't grow because I'm getting crushed on tax. Okay, great. Maybe you want to go to Malaysia because the taxes are a lot more friendly there. You don't have to be dragging a suitcase around all over the planet. You just live in Malaysia and you're just choosing a place that serves you better. And so for me, the Nomad Capitalist, it is cherry picking where are the best places for banking, for incorporating, for doing business, for hiring, for dating, for whatever, because chances are where each of us is from isn't number one in any level at all.
That's a good point. I want you to share first with us a tough decision that you've had to make along this journey that you've been on that had a not so good outcome, and then some of the lessons that you learned through that tough decision.
I was thinking about this. I've had a few things happen to me. It was not a tough decision. It just happened to me and it was difficult. I had a bad outcome. I'll tell you, I'll twist it a little bit. The toughest decision was the ones that I've never made. And I've learned this now doing what I'm doing now and watching people who say, here's my problem, then not take action on it. for me, the biggest regret in my business career across all of my businesses that I know now, looking back, was playing small, was not investing enough. The tough decision was not making tough decisions. The tough decision in my business now as the Nomad Capitalist, like before I was the Nomad Capitalist, was calling a tax lawyer and saying, hey, you know what? I'm kind of like traveling outside of the U.S. a lot. Should I be like getting a tax exemption or something? And he says, yeah, I can put together the whole plan for you for like 15 grand. And I shouted at him because I couldn't make the tough decision to say, I'm going to pay 15 grand to not pay 50 grand in the next 3 or 4 or 5 months. And I think that for a long time, I was obsessed with being like, hey, I'm pretty smart. Like, I must know how to handle everything. And the tough decision is only the tough decision now because I realized I was being weak. I was refusing to invest. I was not investing in advertising. I would throw $50 at a Facebook ad in some other business. It wouldn't work, and I'd give up. And I look back now and say that pool business I invested in could have been 10 times bigger had I known what I know now. But failure to make a tough decision for me, because deep down it was fearful. It was scary.
So, Andrew, do you deal with a lot of entrepreneurs that maybe they come to you for help and you show them how they can improve their situation or where they can be to that would be a better place for them, and then they never take action? Or by the time that they get to you, are they ready to take that action?
Well, I think the biggest thing I've learned in business that, again, I didn't do in previous businesses was, we have 7 million people who come to our website, and now we're not playing small anymore. So now we're even pouring some gas in the fire by doing some paid promotions to get that number up over the organic reach. And so what I've learned from that is if you control who gets to you, if you have a process, not just to be punitive, but a process to screen the people that come to you, we get better and better, I think, by the quarter. I mean, every quarter we're getting together with the team. Like, I'm never satisfied. Whatever happened last quarter, it's like, yeah, okay, great. Like, moving on. And so we've gotten to the point where we've gotten rid of most of the problematic people. I don't give free advice. So if someone just wants to buy kind of a strategy from me and then not do it, it bothers me because I like seeing the results. Like, that's the best part. But what we've done is consistently over the course of the last 2 years really made improvements to every part of the process where people were slipping through the cracks. We've added a big personal coaching element. We've just improved and amplified all the parts that work to where now like 80% of people are doing the work. But if it weren't for those processes, like when we first started helping people one-on-one, it was like, there was a lot of excuse making. It was like I had to be the personal trainer and be like, dude, like, don't just come to the gym and hang out at the smoothie bar and go for a schwitz. Like, get on the ground and do some push-ups.
That's a very good point. So I want to shift here a little bit and talk about another tough decision that you've had to make. And this tough decision is what we call more of a success tough decision. So it's one tough decision that was really tough when you were facing it, but it ended up being a very good decision that you had made and maybe some of the lessons you learned through it.
I think it's again, and I hope I'm not cheating. I hope I'm not breaking the rules of tough decisions, but I think it's the same thing because here's what I'm doing now. Hey, Andrew, we need to hire like 2 more people because we're so busy. Okay, that's not such a tough decision. Okay, fine. We're hiring overseas. We have a great team. Fine. Hey, Andrew, I had a coach. He's like, you need to be putting like, 10 grand a month into YouTube. Like 10 grand a month, I guess, isn't a lot, but it seems like, that's new. Like, like the tough decision of saying, recently I decided 60 days ago, I said, you know what? I'm tired of putting my iPhone on a tripod. Like, I'm going to make the tough decision to hire like professionals to do this. And it's like, that's going to be a pain because they're all going to be like, they're going to not do it the way I want. I'm going to shout at them. And so it's been a series of tough decisions where it's like, I had to get over myself and say, like, you're not going to grow unless you pay the 10 grand, pay this guy 10 grand, fly the film crew in. And every time I just get over that hurdle of like, it's a little bit of money, like within a week, you just move on. And it's like, that's the new normal. And I think that people need to do that thing where it's like, cut yourself, let it scab over, and then like you can do it again. And so it's really just choosing to invest in yourself. And I think that for people like myself who are in these kind of high margin personal service businesses, it's easy to just take the money and say, I'm just going to live a great life. And I do, but I think that if the goal is to be everywhere, investing more of that money back in there can feel very uncomfortable. That's been a tough decision for me.
Could you talk about some of the strategies that you like to use when you are facing a tough decision?
I'll tell you the big thing that I've done that's been kind of difficult in the realm of past ego was I like to hire different coaches who work with me on different things. So, like, for me, I like talking stuff out. Like, that's my thing. It drives my fiance nuts at times because she's like, you're just like excitable and talking about stuff. That's how I work it out. So I hired a coach, for example, and I'll just go in real time. He's like from 10 in the morning to 10 at night. I'm in Malaysia. He's in Thailand. It's just like, I just talk stuff out. And for me, like, that's what works. Cause then it's like, you catch yourself like, oh, like, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm thinking. And you get feedback from people. And when they just kind of synthesize what you're saying to them and kind of feed it back to you, to me, that's the most effective thing. That's what I try and do with people that I'm helping, is I try and listen and I try and pick up. Hey, it sounds like I'm hearing, like, for the fourth time, you're frustrated about this. I like a lot of verbal communication and just picking up on the obvious stuff, using someone else as your spotter.
All right, we're going to take a quick break and hear from one of our show sponsors. And when we come back, we'll talk to Andrew about some of his favorites as it relates to his life as an entrepreneur.
Have you ever thought about investing in real estate, but find yourself so busy that you don't have time for it? Do you have FOMO, which is the fear of missing out? At HanfordCapital.com, we help investors with passive real estate investments that project better returns than traditional investment vehicles such as the stock market. If you'd like to find out more about our passive real estate investments, visit HanfordCapital.com. That's HANDFORD Capital.com. We will jump on a call with you to discuss your investment goals and to see if our investments are a good fit for you. This advertisement is not to be construed as an offer or recommendation to buy or sell a security. Visit HanfordCapital.com. And we are back with Andrew Henderson. Andrew, I want to talk to you about a series of quick questions and answers that we call a trifecta. And I want you to start us off with one that is your favorite technology that you use in business that helps make your life easier every day.
There's a lot of them. I think that one thing that we've used very successfully, even though it's old school, is we still use Infusionsoft. And whatever CRM, whatever you're using, I think it's very important that you have to keep everything organized. And what I found is keeping it organized in one place, not having 17 different tools, but trying to keep it under as few roofs as possible.
What's a favorite quote that you've heard that has helped you as an entrepreneur?
I've had so many. I'll tell you the one that really stands out to me right now at this part of what we're doing and to what I've talked about. Gary Vaynerchuk says, be everywhere. And I think that in 2019, that's the thing that you need to know. Like, if you're not everywhere, then you're nowhere. And that's really stood out to me lately.
And what's a book that you've read that has helped you make better decisions as an entrepreneur?
Well, I would say that writing my book, Nomad Capitalist, helped me kind of, again, synthesize stuff. A book that I read that's not a business book about a year and a half ago, I've talked about this, is The Subtle Art of Not Giving Enough by, I guess, Mark Manson. And that helped me be a better entrepreneur because about a year and a half ago, it was in a month when I was on 3 continents. I was in Europe, I was in Australia, and I was in the US in like the course of 20 days. And I realized that was kind of a turning point, that book for me, where it's like, you got to cut back and focus in life. And I applied that to business. And I think that was a turning point in really amping things up by just cutting out the stuff on the margins.
And what's the next thing for you right now on your vision or your dream board?
Well, again, the big thing is, how do we reach more people? And I think that what I'm doing is going wide and going deep. Really, I'm sure so many people on your show talk about it, but, when you really enjoy helping people, when you really enjoy the process, when you wake up and you enjoy looking at that, sales number that's bigger than last month, but only because, it really means there's results and there's value being created. I'm excited to really dive into more video, more frequent content production, higher quality production, and also just opening up a little bit personally. I've shared a lot of personal stories, but I want to do an occasional, rant. I want to go back to ranting about stuff. I want to go back to kind of sharing deep inner stuff and just getting out of the information and getting more into the personal human side of what I'm doing, because I think transparency is important.
And what's the best way for the listeners to reach out to you if they want to contact you or follow you more or figure out a little bit more about the Nomad Capitalist?
So nomadcapitalist.com, we've got 14 or 1,500 blog articles. We've got a lot of resources there. People can find how to work with us there if they are looking to do the whole global citizen tax reduction thing. The book, Nomad Capitalist, on Amazon, and the YouTube channel, Nomad Capitalist. Hundreds of videos there and more every week.
And we'll make sure to put all those links and references on our website, which can be found at toughdecisions.net. Thank you so much, Andrew, for taking your time to be with us today here on the podcast. Look forward to continue to follow you as you continue to grow, and looking forward to having you on a future episode as well.
You guys are doing a great show, and I'm glad to be with you.
Thank you for listening to the Tough Decisions Network. Be sure to visit toughdecisions.net to gain access to show notes for this episode and to join our free weekly entrepreneur email, where we will send you news about the latest technology for your business, inspiring quotes, and the latest books for entrepreneurs. That's toughdecisions.net.